One of the main things people used to ask me when I lived in Thailand was what it's like to travel and live in Thailand as a black expat. And at the time, I would thought that it's not any different from living like anyone else in Thailand. But looking back on it now, I've traveled a little bit more and I can look in hindsight. I think there are some things that would be cool to mention in case you was wondering what is it like to live in Thailand as a black expat. Stay tuned to find out. I'm Kendrick, owner and photographer of freedomofphotography.com. It's the website I've created to help people get started in traveling and get comfortable with traveling and learn about traveling. If you're a beginner in traveling, if you're looking to get started, you don't know where to start, you're unsure about some things, getting outside of your comfort zone, never left the country, probably never left your state, and you're looking for some type of direction, that's what this channel is for, to answer all of your questions. So some years ago, I accepted a position to work on a construction project in Thailand, helping build a wind farm, largest wind farm in Southeast Asia at the time. So I supposed to be out there for a 6-month contract. It ended up getting extended 3 years, and then I accepted another contract there for about 1.5 years. So altogether, I was in Thailand for about 5 years, and I thought I was going to be there for 6 months. It was one of the best experiences that I've had. And I lived in a small town called Hoi Bong in super rural Thailand, about 4 or 5 hours north of Bangkok. And of course, as always, I'm the only black guy in town, only black guy on the site, which is fine, doesn't bother me at all. I'm comfortable in that position. And I was in this small town, nobody spoke English. I had to learn how to speak the language just for simple stuff, even to get food, to buy anything at the store, you have to learn to speak the language. So that's what I did, because no one spoke English. And I don't even think I was using Google Translate at the time. Something I did notice when I was living in Thailand and traveling throughout Southeast Asia is the way that they treat people with different skin tones, the lighter skin tones, the darker skin tones. And it's something that I've heard about, but I've never experienced it negatively, but I've seen it affect other people. So there is a difference between black versus dark. From my experience and from what I can tell, they like black people. They're not too crazy about dark people. And let me explain what that means, the difference with that. So with their own people, their own fellow Asians, their own Thai people, dark-skinned Thai people are looked at as being lower on the economic scale and on the social ladder in the culture. So if you're dark-skinned, there's a higher chance that you worked outside in a labor position, a farmer, or some type of construction or labor or position that requires a lower education because you're working outside because you have dark skin. And the only way, in their minds, the only way you get dark skin is from being exposed to the sun. So if you've done anything where you're exposed to the sun, then you're of a lower economic, lower social value because that's viewed as being a poor position or a poor person because you are working outside in the labor position. If you're light skinned, then they view that as being, you probably spend most of your time indoors, and being indoors in poor countries usually requires more money, either for working indoors in the office or being educated indoors, going to university or going to school indoors. You haven't been exposed to the sun as much, which means you probably have better means to work and find employment and be accepted into society away from the laborers and the construction workers and the farmers, because they're outside and you're indoors. So you have more money, you have more education, and that's how they see it. That's not always true. I know some people that's saying now, watching this, that's thinking that's not true, that's not my experiences. There are exceptions, but overall, this is what I've experienced from living 5, 6, 7 years in Asia. It's been 7 years now. So living in Thailand 5 of those years, that's what I experienced as far as how they view their own kind. Now, when it comes to black people, non-Asian black people, they think all black people, or the most of black people, are Africans. They don't know the concept of a black American. They think all Americans are 6-foot-tall white people. They don't know you have black Americans and Asian Americans and Latin Americans and all different types of Americans. And when you tell them like, hey, I'm from the States, I'm American. They're like, oh, really? Where are you originally from? Like, originally. Like, no. Like, where are your people originally from? They don't know that black people are from the United States and white people are from the United States. And there are Asians that have been in the United States for generations and generations, just as they have any other ethnicity of people. So that's something that they just don't know because it's not what's portrayed as heavily in the movies and the TV shows as other parts of American culture. So all they know is American TVs and movies. So that's what they know and that's what they see you as and that's what they think you are. So not to say anything bad about that has happened to me. I've never been treated bad. I never felt in danger. No one has ever denied me something that I know of because I was a black man. That was absolutely not. If anything, it's worked in my favor several times, many times. We'll talk about that later. But it's definitely haven't had any negativity towards me. It's all love since day one I landed in Thailand. Nobody has ever made me feel a certain way because my skin was darker than anybody else. So a lot of that you may hear may be from other people that are non-black people. I'm gonna talk about that later on in the video also. But for the most part, or for the all part, I've had nothing but love in Thailand and no type of negative feelings or things said to me or done to me because I was a black man. And that's from way out in the boonies and the sticks, 5 hours outside of Bangkok to in Bangkok. I've always had good intentions with people and never too much negative activities, except for the police. I'm gonna talk about that one later. You will meet some non-Thai people that will tell you that Thai people don't like black people. A lot of Europeans or maybe fellow Americans would tell you, like, Thai people don't like black people. And I find it to be completely untrue. A few people have said that, but the only people that have told me Thai people don't like black people are white people. I've never experienced it. I've never heard other black people say Thai people don't like black people. I've never heard black people say Thai people don't like black people. I hear white people say Thai people don't like black people all the time, and I think that's very untrue. So when you hear that, just know that you're talking to someone that's uninformed. Dating in Thailand. I've dated Thai girls when I lived in Thailand, and it's really like dating any other girl. I mean, once you understand the culture, the Thai culture, and you can understand the women better. They say that they like my style. I think they like black Americans. I mean, of course, not everybody likes you, not everybody hates you, not everybody loves you, not everybody thinks you're cool as you think you are. So it's just like anybody else. You're gonna have girls that prefer black guys. You're gonna have girls that don't know anything about black guys. You're gonna have girls that are interested in you only because you're a black guy. You're gonna have girls that are interested in you. It has nothing to do with you being a black guy, just truly interested in someone from a different culture from there. So sometimes you being a black man or a black person makes a difference, and I really think there are other times where it doesn't really make a difference. You may be in your head a little bit. It may not even be an issue as much as you think it is, but I've never been treated bad. I've never tried to talk to a girl and she's like, oh no, I don't like black guys or something like that. That's stupid. So I think once you have been here for a while, it's different from being a local person that lives here and being a tourist. If you're a tourist, then you're gonna have a different outlook on the girls and the life and the culture here. If you've been here for just a weekend or a week or two versus living here for a year or two, like every day, all day. So I think once you do that, they see that you're actually here and committed to the country. So it allows you to get like a different quality standard of girls. You usually get more educated girls, good English speakers that go to university, things like that. So I've dated probably 3 girls since over the 5 years that I lived in Thailand. So I mean, it's really not an issue. You will get attention. I can say that when you go out to the discos, the bars, the club, anywhere, the mall, the restaurant, you're gonna get attention. So sometimes it's how you transfer that attention to, hey, get away from me, I don't wanna have anything to do with you, or they use it to find more interesting ways to get to know you and break the ice. So you definitely can date Thai girls, no problem. The village girls out in the rural areas, or the city girls closer to Bangkok or Chiang Mai or the Korat or something like that, depends on where you are. I've never had any issue dating because I was a black guy in Thailand, or dating at all. I mean, as an expat, you're pretty much gonna get attention and pick a girl, so you just have to just treat it like any other race of people, like you dating another black girl or white girl or Asian girl or Latin girl. I mean, they're all the same, in my opinion. There are differences, but they're all the same. All right, so naturally, people ask me about the police. What are your encounters with the police? How do the police treat you? What is that like? So, living out in Bangkok, or living outside of Bangkok, it's a different world. It's a different world than living in Bangkok. Bangkok and Thailand are really two different places, if I could be honest. You have Bangkok, which is a world in itself, and then you have Thailand, which is different. So in Thailand, outside of Bangkok, like 4 or 5 hours out where I was living, the police were not bad at all. You have checkpoints that come through checkpoints. You roll down the window, they look at you, see a brother with locks, and they're like, what the hell? So you go through that a couple times, you know how to deal with it. It helps when you speak Thai. So if I've came through checkpoints, maybe if you've had a couple, you know, doing some things you probably shouldn't be doing. Luckily, bribery is huge in Thailand. I know other travel photographers and travel writers are gonna get mad at me for saying that, but it is. Just, you should be no problem getting your way out of any situation, small situation that you're in, as far as coming through a checkpoint or something like that. I've never had any problem. Being in Bangkok is a different story. So in Bangkok, I've had the police target me, and I feel it was strictly because I was a black man, right? So one time I was walking with this chick, and we was walking from dinner. We just finished eating dinner at this Italian place in Bangkok, and we were walking, and the police just came up behind us, got off the bike, and started searching me up against the wall. I was a black person. She was not a black person. So they had me up against the wall asking me, where am I from? What do I do? Where's my ID? And they didn't do anything to her, like nothing. They just told her how pretty she was. Oh, madame, you're so pretty, all of that. Didn't search her. And I don't know, I think if they would have searched both of us, I don't know, maybe they'd have found what they were looking for. But I know the game, I know the system. I know if there's anything you don't want the police to find out about between me and someone that doesn't look like me, the person that doesn't look like me should have it. Just speaking in general, nothing specific. But there was just one time that they targeted me without targeting the other person, the other people I was with. And they think Africans are drug dealers. They probably saw me and thought I was a drug dealer. They didn't think I was a travel photographer and an engineer. So that's just something that they just have to deal with, the stereotypes of what people that look like you go through. So if you guys are enjoying this story and the insight of what it's like to live as a black expat in Thailand, then hit the like and subscribe button and support the channel with a thumbs up. I appreciate it. It helps me out with the algorithm. One of the biggest things that I did that helped me really make a big difference in me living long-term in Thailand was learning to speak Thai. When I learned how to speak the language, it made a world of difference, which you should do if you're gonna be there for any amount of time. So I lived out in the boonies, in the sticks, away from Bangkok, and they speak a certain dialect of Thai. Nobody speaks English at all, none, except for the other people I was working with on the project. But outside of work, nobody spoke English at all. So for me to do basic stuff like go and get food, orders, go and get gas, order food, know what the menu is, any type of anything I wanted to do, I had to learn how to speak the language. I had to learn how to speak Thai, and that made a big difference with going to the night market and the day market, hustling with the old ladies and the vendors trying to sell stuff, going back and forth, and they see you can speak Thai, like, oh, okay. So they kind of instant 50% discount. And learning to speak Thai help you get closer to the people. It helps you get in depth with them, and they open up, and you can speak, have simple conversations, have a few drinks, and they open up their home to you. They let you know about ideas that'll help you with traveling, and hey, maybe you can check this out and check that out, and come and watch us do Muay Thai fights, or come and watch us train, or come and watch us plant rice. I mean, whatever it is, it makes for good photography and good travel immersion in the culture. So I think it's a good thing. Another thing that helped me was I took formal lessons, right? So I had this teacher. I first started off just kind of figuring things out as I go, figuring out the language, but then I had this teacher that made worksheets for me. She actually made worksheets with my name in the examples, talking me through how to speak the language. I learned how to write the alphabet. I think it's 44 consonants and like 6 vowels or something like that. I could be wrong, but I think that's what the alphabet is made of. And my teacher really helped me. She really helped me learn like how to properly speak the language instead of like how to speak it like a foreigner like I was. So learning how to speak Thai was a huge help in getting integrated with the culture, taking better photography, and just having a better life living as a black expat in Thailand. These things have really been specific to Thailand, what I've been talking about, but they kind of go for outside of Thailand in like Southeast Asia overall. Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, Cambodia, other places like that, Indonesia, Malaysia. They go for that as well because I've traveled to all those places. I lived in Bangkok, and it's the hub of Southeast Asia, and I would take flights outside of Bangkok, an hour to hour and a half, and you would get to like some really good destinations for really cheap. So I've traveled to other places outside of Bangkok and Thailand, and a lot of these things is for the Asian culture overall, or at least the Southeast Asian culture. I think you can use this insight of living in Thailand for outside of Thailand as well. You can use it for other countries in Southeast Asia, and I think it'll transition pretty good. I've had experiences in Nepal where I've had people specifically stop me, say they know I'm a black man, and start singing to me, "We Shall Overcome," because when they had a black friend that looked like me, that's the song he used to sing all the time. I may do a video about that one. That was a crazy time I was in Nepal. I was in Laos one time in Luang Prabang, and the guy coming up to me, in this picture right here I'm showing you where he does the peace sign, he was coming up to me saying, "Original King, Original King." And I didn't really know what it meant at the time until other people told me, and I met someone in Nong Kiao that told me how some people from Laos view original king and black people and how they say that, or maybe that was just him. So that was an interesting thing, but Southeast Asia overall is a good time, a good place to go if you want to live or travel as a black expat for 3 days, 3 months, or 3 years. I think you should do it, and leave me a comment if you have any questions about what you think I should do a video about in the future to help you with your travels. So I said all of that to say this: moving to Thailand was the greatest decision I ever made in my life. Minus buying a house right during the pandemic before the prices went up. That was a good idea too. Looking back on it now, moving to Thailand was probably the greatest decision I ever made in my life. Like, for real, because it really opened me up to a whole life outside of the United States and outside of what I grew up to, and that helped me get deeper into photography. I was into photography before I moved to Thailand, but being in that culture where everything was wow, wow, look at that, look at that, look at that. It was amazing to see how it was different than the United States. So it just allowed me to travel around other places in the world, allowed me to meet other people, and these opportunities that would not have been available unless I was on the other side of the world. They wouldn't have presented themselves to me in the United States. Learning how to speak, I only spoke English, now I can speak a couple more languages, Spanish and Thai a little bit. My Spanish is better than my Thai, but learning how to speak Thai, and then a specific dialect of Thai that I speak, or that I spoke, it's like a farmer Isan dialect. That's where I used to live, in an area called Isan. I was living out there, so I speak like Isan Thai and not like expat English teacher foreigner Thai that most people speak in Bangkok. So when they hear me talk, they know I've lived in depth into culture because of the dialect of Thai that I speak. Like if someone from Thailand came to America and they first learned English in Mississippi or Alabama, and they speaking like a country Mississippi, Alabama person instead of what you think someone like them would speak like. So that's another way to open up the opportunity. So it was definitely a best decision of my life. I don't regret it at all. It led to other decisions. Right now I'm in Vietnam. You see what it looks like. I mean, I'm in the mountains up here near the Chinese border. So all of this started because I moved to Thailand and accepted a job that I didn't know would lead to a whole new life for me. All right, so if I can like paraphrase the whole video and distill it down into a few things that may just help you in your journeys. If you don't look like the people of where you're going, like there's a lot of times you don't have to necessarily be a black expat living in Thailand, but if you are going somewhere to where you are the only person and they're not used to seeing people like you, you can use some of these ideas to help have a better experience. You want to basically use it to break the ice instead of just using it to kind of be on the defensive so much and think you're being targeted. Like, use it to talk to people, and when you see people want to talk to you and ask you where you're from, use it to get in with them and maybe find out some information about where the best places to photograph or where the best places to go for a bike ride or what are the best restaurants, or maybe you can get in with them and learn about their family and what they're doing. Maybe they're a specific type of minority in that country, like up here in Vietnam, I'm with the Hmong people. That's a Chinese subculture here in Vietnam. So you can use the attention that you tracked and you standing out so much, you can use it to help open doors that may not be open to someone else where they're used to seeing, oh, we're used to seeing people that look like this, so it's just whatever. But when they see you, a brother with locks, they're like, holy wow, man. And they just want to be your friend and take pictures and do all of that. Use that momentum to, hey, you know, I'm a photographer, where are the good spots? Oh, we want to go here. Don't go to that spot. This is a tourist spot. I'll take you here. It's on my family's land or my uncle's property or something. And now that's an opportunity and a door that opened that wasn't available to someone that probably didn't look like you. Prime example, I'm here in Vietnam, in Sapa, Vietnam, and I got here about 4 days ago, really late at night, super late at night. I found this restaurant that was open, and they said they were closed before they actually saw what I looked like. I think they just heard me speaking English and just assumed, no, we're closed. And he walked around and saw me through the window. His eyes popped out this big in his head, and he came back in, was like, we're open, we're open. So I was talking to him, and he was saying, yeah, really, we're actually closed. We're sitting here chilling, but we'll open back up for you. And so they made me a rice dish. They had some homemade rice wine. They made me some chicken and peppers, and it was so good. It was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. They didn't charge me for it. I could not pay for it no matter how much I tried. And I think that's largely because they wasn't used to seeing a brother with locks, because when I was eating, they was just interviewing me like I was a pink elephant, like they never seen anything like this before. And it worked in my favor. It allowed me to get in with them, meet some new friends. It allowed me to get a very delicious meal, warm, hot, delicious meal late at night when everything else was closed. All because of what I looked like. So that's an example. It's in Vietnam, not Thailand, but in Thailand also, it has worked in my favor more times than not, being a brother. So as I said earlier, most people only know what they've seen in the movies and the TV culture about you. I've had someone say, the only time I've seen someone like you was on like Law and Order. They think we're all criminals. They only see us on NYPD. I was gonna say NYPD Blue. I was gonna tell my age. Yeah, I don't know that. That's before Law and Order. But those police drama shows where they're chasing a black guy through the alley and he's a drug addict or a murderer or something like that. So she's like, wow, so you're an engineer. I've never even, like, that's crazy for me to hear. And that was crazy for me to hear that it was crazy for her to hear. So go into that, don't go into it thinking that in a negative way, like everybody think I'm a criminal or a basketball player or a rapper, but don't be surprised when they're surprised that you're not a criminal, a basketball player, or a rapper. Don't get offended by it, just know that they're only limited by what they know and they don't know a lot. So use that as a time to maybe enlighten them like, hey, we're not all athletes and criminals. Some of us are engineers and photographers. And of course, as I said before, a lot of them are gonna assume that you're from Africa and they may treat you a certain way, bad or good, because of that. Don't take it personal. They just don't know, especially out in the boonies. I was out in the sticks. In Bangkok, they may know because they see black people. They're just more aware of things outside of Thailand, but way in the sticks, like way in the country, like way where your grandmama live, they may not know that. They may have never seen a black person in person, and they may have only seen one in the movies or in TV where it wasn't portrayed in the best light. So you may not have that experience, don't hold that against them, but don't take it personal either, and just use it as a teacher moment. And not everybody's from Africa, not all black people are from Africa. Some of us are from Mississippi. So I think those things, if you keep in mind, will help lead you to a better travel experience, a better life, a better expat experience, a better working experience, a better way to deeper ingrain yourself in the culture of the local people. So if you like what you've been hearing about living as a black expat in Thailand, leave a comment below. Let me know your experience of living in Thailand as a black expat. Let me know other videos you want me to do about traveling specific to black people or just about traveling all around. I haven't traveled as a non-black person, but I have general travel advice also. So I can help you with that. If you're a beginner, if you know someone that's a beginner, share this video with them, share it on social media, help me grow the channel, and thank you. Peace. I keep forgetting, also, the t-shirt. This one is from Nepal. When I was volunteering in Nepal, this is the girl was throwing dirt in a village I was helping rebuild after the earthquake. If you guys like this shirt, want to help support the channel, help support my travels, then you can go on the website freedomofphotography.com/support. You can see all the merchandise that can help support the channel and help me continue to bring you travel content that you need for your journeys. Peace.